And I got there and they were like, so you're union? I'm like, of course I'm union. Yeah, absolutely I'm union. And then I wasn't. And casting, to this day, those casting directors will never hire me.
Meghan's career began with a cheeky confession. "I was such a fraud." She laughed about lying to claim Screen Actors Guild membership just to land a television role, calling herself the Mike Ross of auditioning. That tiny moment wasn't a harmless anecdote. It was the first glimpse of a pattern, bending the rules with charm and zero hesitation. But that wasn't the whole story. What if everything you thought you knew about Meghan Markle was just the highlight reel? If you've ever wondered what really goes on behind those fairy tale headlines, hit like now and let's dive in. Not long after, the Finding Freedom emails leaked, revealing Meghan's direct involvement in drafting key passages she'd sworn under oath she never touched. The judge called it a very unfortunate lapse of memory.
You're the Mike Ross of
I was such a fraud. The Mike Ross of auditioning, whatever.
But millions saw something very different, a crafted narrative that masked its author's fingerprints. How did she get away without consequences? Because the story moved on fast before anyone could demand accountability. And when she does move on, she takes all those doubts with her, buried under the next big reveal. Then came the moon bump theories, claims that Meghan used prosthetic padding during her pregnancies. On paper, it sounded absurd, a wild conspiracy. Major outlets dismissed it outright, yet even the harshest critics admitted something felt off in her staged photo shoots. The real shock wasn't that people whispered about fake bumps, it was how her team deflected, shifting discourse from substance to spin. One day, it's a denial. The next, it's a vague apology about communications challenges. The objective truth evaporates, replaced by carefully curated ambiguity. The wedding footage added another layer. A clip of Meghan appearing to bow her head to Princess Charlotte went viral. Fans saw a tender gesture. Others read cold calculation in a glance. That split-second moment exploded across social platforms, each side drowning out the other in noise. And while most discussions focused on etiquette, a deeper question went unasked. Is this a genuine display of humility or another move in the chess game of public perception? In Meghan's world, even the smallest gesture becomes yet another weapon to shape her narrative. At the heart of the storm was Meghan's explosive claim that someone in the palace raised concerns about Archie's skin tone. Instantly, the world reacted to stories of racism at the highest levels. Headlines thundered, debates raged, and institutions quivered. But within days, Prince Harry walked back the most incendiary language, calling it unconscious bias, not overt racism. Which story was real? The initial one that shook a monarchy, or the later softened version? The contradiction only fueled uncertainty and kept the controversy alive. Then came Spare, Harry's memoir, billed as an unfiltered account of his life. Readers found moments of raw vulnerability, but once again, the framing felt too precise, too strategic. A passage where Harry confesses to lashing out during an argument with Meghan ends with her vow that their marriage would end if it happened again. It reads like a dramatic climax lifted from a screenplay because someone with a keen eye for narrative structure helped shape it. In Harry's own words, we glimpse the invisible hand guiding the drama. As the stories stacked up, a different image of Harry emerged. Gone was the confident prince cracking jokes with soldiers. In his place stood a figure worn down by perpetual scrutiny. Tire tracks of uncertainty are visible in his every public appearance, each smile tinged with fatigue. Meanwhile, the palace chose silence, adhering to the ancient edict: never complain, never explain. But silence in Meghan's arena isn't neutrality, it's consent. By refusing to counter false narratives, the monarchy allowed her version to dominate unchallenged. So, where does this leave the institution? King Charles and Queen Camilla watch from the wings, bound by tradition. Prince William faces a crossroads: maintain the code of silence, or draw a public line in the sand. If he remains quiet much longer, the stories will write themselves. The palace's greatest vulnerability isn't the scandals, it's the absence of a clear, countering voice. Every moment without pushback cedes another inch of narrative control to Meghan's camp. Yet, the stakes go beyond palace politics. Archie and Lilibet will one day search online for the truth about their family. They will find clips of cast-offs labeled fraud, courtroom emails, tabloid speculation about womb prosthetics, contested wedding gestures, and sensitive claims recast as spin, their mother's smiling face will look less like love and more like a performance designed to outpace every rumor. And when that realization hits, it will matter far more than any headline, because this isn't about celebrity gossip, it's about real lives shaped by stories. Imagine the reckoning when these children confront the gap between the glossy public image and the tangled web of half-truths. It could fracture their trust, not only in their mother but in the very concept of an honest narrative. Meanwhile, Harry stands at the edge of a labyrinth of his own making, where every path leads back to a version of reality that might not be his own. If he tries to claw back control, he risks looking like the villain in a story she's already scripted. At its core, Meghan's power lies in her mastery of modern media. She doesn't need to scream her claims into a microphone. She drops them subtly, an offhand remark here, a draft email there, and watches them metastasize across screens worldwide. Each new rumor, each calculated gesture, builds on the last, creating a story that's part fairy tale, part psychological thriller. And if you dig for solid facts, you find fewer answers than fresh uncertainties. So, what's the bottom line? Meghan Markle's career has always been about narrative control, building personas, steering conversations, resetting the story whenever a challenge emerges. She's a master at playing to an audience that rarely pauses to question the script. But every game ends, and every mask slips. One day, the walls of the carefully constructed palace of stories will crumble under their own weight. When they do, the people who built them, and those caught inside, will be left to pick up the pieces. So, what's the bottom line? Meghan Markle's career has always been about narrative control, building personas, steering conversations, resetting the story whenever a challenge emerges. She's a master at playing to an audience that rarely pauses to question the script. But every game ends, and every mask slips. One day, the walls of the carefully constructed palace of stories will crumble under their own weight. When they do, the people who built them, and those caught inside, will be left to pick up the pieces.